Are travel plans in your future? Of course, you'll need your passport, credit card, and phone, but had you thought of your representation agreement?
It was 3:30 in the morning, and I got a phone call. It was my sister-in-law. She and my brother-in-law had been on a cruise, and my brother-in-law got very sick. And he had to be taken off the ship, and he was transferred to a hospital in Vietnam.
Have you heard of a representation agreement?
No, I'm unfamiliar with them.
I found out about the representation agreement quite by accident just a few days ago, and just prior to a trip overseas that'll be taking place within the next week. And the person I was chatting with said, well, of course, you have your representation agreement. And I said, no. And what's that? And she said, Joan, there are 3 things you should have when you travel overseas: your passport, your travel insurance, and your representation agreement. Tell me more, I said.
Just one more thing before we go. I heard about a representation agreement here just recently, and that it gives somebody else the legal right to communicate with doctors or anything like that if one of us gets hurt and can't speak for ourselves, or something could happen. It just allows somebody else to take care of those issues. You know, maybe we should each fill one out before we go.
Okay.
Very good?
Yeah.
Okay.
From the beginning of that conversation at 3:30 in the morning, there ensued about a 2-week litany, really, of phone calls back and forth between Vietnam, the hospital, doctors in Vietnam, and locally, as well as, of course, the travel insurance company. And that's where we had to define that I was actually able to speak for my brother-in-law. He was too sick to speak for himself. My sister-in-law was actually still on board a ship at one point, so she had no ability to contact the travel insurance people.
Once one knows about the representation agreement, its importance, and how it can have, well, life-enhancing, if not life-saving, consequences for me or whomever else, is absolutely critical. And whether I'm traveling overseas in a foreign country where people may not speak my language, or whether I'm walking down the street in my hometown, there will be people who will be able to speak on my behalf.
And so I think that it was just really important. Had I had a representation agreement, I could have faxed it to the travel insurance people, and they would have immediately accepted me as his spokesperson. And I think that now knowing this, certainly from now on, I'm always going to travel with a representation agreement.
I was happy to learn that when I have 2 friends, acquaintances, people known to me, sign it, I don't need to go to the expense or take the time to make an appointment with a notary or a lawyer.
It helps you at the time to be able to communicate your wishes during a time when you can't speak for yourself. You've already spoken to someone about what you might want, and you've authorized them to speak for you.
Got it done quickly, timely, and at no cost.
I didn't know about the representation agreements. Now knowing that, I certainly wouldn't travel without it. I know I'll be filling mine out here right away. And I think when you have that, it just covers all the bases and you're good to go.
You know, you always think that it's too early to make out something like a representation agreement or a power of attorney for health care, as it's called in some provinces. But the fact is that you always think it's too early until it's too late.
Won't travel without one.
Here you go. I'm going to hand this over to you in safekeeping.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I wish you a fabulous holiday. Lovely to meet you both.
You as well.
And
Thanks so
if
much.
you have any questions, call me.
Of course.
But other than that, you're good to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Very much.
Whether you're traveling or staying at home, making your representation agreement is quick, easy, and free. You can find the form online on the Comox Valley Advanced Care Planning website.